Hey guys, Alex and Dad from 7th Hour Films back again with Doctor Who Classic. Last time around...
Neither one of us can remember.
Oh, it was Revenge of the Cybermen.
Alright, remind me of Revenge of the Cybermen.
That's right. Yeah, they go back to Nerva, but it's earlier in the timeline, and there's this plague that's happening, but it's not a plague, it's just everybody being killed by the Cybermat, because the Cybermen want to use Nerva to destroy the asteroid planet Voga, because it's made of gold, and that's their weakness. So there's this whole back and forth of the Vogans and the Cybermen, and the Doctor and the gang getting caught up in the middle of it.
And there was basically a redesign of the Cybermen.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was... Suddenly, when I started this episode, I was like, wait, what was the last episode? Because we're filming this... normally, those of you who are meticulous enough probably remember that we normally record these on Saturday. That is not the case today. It is Monday. We're filming this a little bit later. So today is the day that the second part of Genesis of the Daleks went up.
Yes.
So that's all I was thinking about. So
I had just been watching that when he said, hey, let's go record.
Yeah, so Revenge of the Cybermen, good. It was just a little, it's not quite at the front of our brains yet.
You want to tell them why we didn't record Saturday?
Well, it was my birthday on Saturday, so
we were celebrating.
Yeah, celebrating with Star Wars, and a lot of it. We would have gone to see Thor, but it's too friggin' hot to go see Thor. So
we're in the triple digits now in Oklahoma.
It is ungodly hot. So yeah, we stayed in, watched Star Wars and stuff, and had a good time. And we could have done it yesterday on Sunday. I just didn't feel like it. So here we are today when I'm recording other stuff during the day, which is always a great idea. So I'm just tired now. And we are on to season 13. So today is Terror of the Zygons.
Now, I've heard of them, but I've never seen them, have I? Because even in our preview of all the different eras, we never saw the Zygons, did we?
The Zygons, you would have in the 50th anniversary. They were sort of in the background. They weren't necessarily... I mean, they were kind of the main threat, but at the same time, it was mainly focusing on the 10th and the 11th Doctor and helping the War Doctor and everything like that.
Okay.
But the Zygons were featured in that. So I don't know... I mean, I'm sure they'll look about the same as they did. Just a little, how do I say it without offending whoever really likes the costumes on this show? I would just say a little rougher, and that's not a criticism, that's just a fact, okay? So, but anyway, but I'm sure they'll look fine. The Sontarans have looked pretty good, so I'm sure they'll be fine. But yeah, it is the beginning of season 13, and the second season of Tom Baker, which the first season was pretty good, pretty solid overall, so curious to, have that quality continue, hopefully. But yeah, it is the first episode of the season, which means that full length is available for free. If you want to try that on 4 episodes of classic Doctor Who, you can. So all you have to do is head down into the description or into the pinned comment. There'll be a link there. You just go, you got to sync up your copy of this episode of Doctor Who Classic to our footage, because I can't give you the full episode, because I cannot stress this enough, that is not legal. So, and trust me, they'll find a way. They'll find a way to find out. So, but I'm sure there are plenty of ways to find a version of Doctor Who Classic for you to watch. We're watching this it's on Amazon Prime Video, but it's also on BritBox, so I don't know if there's going to be any differences if you have British BritBox or US BritBox or Amazon BritBox. I don't know. But you can do that, you can watch it, you can hopefully have a good time, and when you're done with that, you can come back here for the discussion, where we will make stupid jokes, probably talk about World War II, and nitpick a couple things. Just a couple things. So
You said the N-word.
I did say it. So, anyway. You got anything else?
I got nothing.
Then let's just go ahead and jump into Terror of the Zygons. Here we go. I notice I never say terror. I always say terror. I don't know. I don't think I have an accent of any sort, but I think that might be where it shines through when I try to say terror.
Oof.
Okay, so that's a problem.
Nice model work, though.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Halt! Forward.
To say Hibernian, I thought was Celtic, like Ireland, Scotland, but don't quote me on that.
I like that the Doctor gave Harry his other scarf and put on a different one. And a hat.
That's called a tam.
Hey, Benton.
Hey, listen to that.
I'm afraid we've rather imposed ourselves on the landlord. If he wants to play his pipes, there's not much I can do about it. Mr. Benson, any news of the doctor yet?
No, sir, nothing yet.
What's that? That, Doctor, is a kilt.
Suits you very well.
Oh, do you think so?
Yes.
This is His Grace, the Duke of Forgill. He very kindly gave us a lift.
I had to pass here on my way to the oil base.
Well, he's the
See
villain.
me.
You know what else I'm wondering? How did the bagpipes just stop?
Man.
Right. That has got to be exceedingly cold.
Yeah.
Because if they're wearing their scarves and everything, that water's probably 50 degrees at best.
Well, yeah.
Radio picked up some strange sound, but as far as we know, the sea was calm and empty.
Maybe
It's
calm.
an interesting accent for Mr. Huckle.
That's right. I'm Angus Ferguson McRanald.
Oh,
My
that's a
family's been in
name.
these parts for generations. Nobody from these parts will cross the moor after dark.
Oh, Mr. McRanald.
Well, the eyes look
That's
good.
just superstition, surely.
Maybe he missed.
I grazed him.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, might as well forget about security in Tulloch. Landlord here's got second sight.
It's part of the radio
But bagpipes can't just stop.
Well, what if that gets jammed too?
That's got to be a part of it, like it's a recording or something.
Kraken?
The Loch Ness.
Got you, Ben Nevis, loud and clear.
Could be that.
How are things?
Looks a little like me.
Well,
A little experiment in orthodontology, Mr. Huckle.
Orthodontology.
Teeth. Teeth. The scientific study of teeth.
it's a bite mark.
It's the cast of a tooth, wouldn't you say?
Look, let's get this straight. Are you trying to tell me those rigs were chewed up by a set of giant molars?
Yes. A set of giant molars that can chew through solid steel as easily as paper.
It's all right, Dr. Sullivan. You're quite safe.
No, she's evil too.
Your worries are over now.
And Sarah, better keep his recovery dark for the moment.
Why? Do you think Harry's still in danger from something?
Whoop!
Well,
I did, at like 3 different points, I forgot and remembered what their powers were, which is shape-shifting
no.
into human form. I didn't think you would remember, so I was waiting for them to say it, but I kept forgetting and then remembering again. So, alrighty. Well, honestly, they don't look too far off from how they did in the 50th. So, yeah, they look pretty good.
And again, good idea keeping them just, eyes and the occasional, slimy paw until right at the very end. And again, just get a quick glimpse of them so that there's no chance of going, wait a minute, is that a guy in a rubber suit?
Yeah. And even in that room, it was still pretty dark in there. So it's very interesting just how much slimy-looking material they had to make, like, because it's also like the console that they're working on and their hands and stuff. Yeah. So I was gonna say it kind of looks like they would fit in on the Flying Dutchman, and then they have like the Kraken or the Loch Ness Monster or something.
Something very large and scaly with very large teeth. Although, and again, sorry for those of you who think I'm nitpicking, those weren't molars. Right? The molars are flat. Those were incisors.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
Well, who cares?
Yeah, it's just a nitpick. Doesn't mean we hate the episode or anything.
No, it's actually I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, this is interesting so far, and it's also interesting just seeing. I mean, I understand the Doctor not caring at first, and being critical of why'd you bring me back here? This needs to be important. But as it keeps slowly going, more and more is being revealed, and now he's like, okay, I got to figure this out. Another oil rig has been just completely obliterated.
Now, he said 270 million miles.
Yeah.
So it's like 3 times the distance of the snow. Yeah, about 3 times the distance of the sun. So where was the Nerva space station? Wasn't it surrounding the Earth?
Yeah.
So how did he go 270 million miles away?
Huh.
Again.
Well, the only thing I could think is... No, it may have... No, when they went back in Revenge of the Cybermen, Nerva and Voga were around Jupiter.
Oh, okay.
So,
all right.
Yeah, it must have been that Jupiter back to Earth, plus the, 10,000 years of going back there as well. And, no, it would have to be that, because if he was including Skaro, it would be so many more miles. Yeah. So, we're not even sure where Skaro is in relation to the Earth. It's probably not even the same galaxy.
Well, I would assume it's in the same galaxy, because jumping from galaxy to galaxy would be very, very difficult.
Well,
I mean even for the TARDIS.
But I don't think it is. I think the TARDIS can go anywhere in the universe it wants. It just... Though there is a funny thing of... We never know how long it takes for the TARDIS to go somewhere, because in theory, it dematerializes and rematerializes. It should just be instant, but especially in New Doctor Who, there are a lot of times where it's like they get there instantly, or they're like, well, it'll be 4 minutes before we get there, and it's like, well, which is it? I just feel like the TARDIS takes its dramatic time when it needs to. So, but we haven't had that too much in classic Doctor Who anyway. So, you were right about Huckle's accent, though. I didn't notice that until that second time he talked. So
yeah, and if it is an English accent, a British accent, I can't place it. Yeah. Because it almost sounds like he doesn't. He almost sounds like an American.
Yeah. So why? I mean, I don't know if that's going to be a thing or not, or if that's just the actor they got, But it does kind of make you wonder. It's like, okay, so who is this guy living in Scotland? And
well, now I do know that throughout the 1950s, American petroleum engineers, oil men, went to various places around the world, particularly the Middle East, Saudi Arabia and Kuwait and places like that, to help set up oil exploration. So it's entirely possible that he might have helped out, helping to set up these oil platforms there. I'm assuming this is North Sea. This would be off the east coast of Scotland, maybe the north coast of Scotland. I don't know if they have any rigs on the west coast over by Ireland or not.
And also, it has to be something with the bagpipes, right? Because they don't just stop. They wheeze for a good 10 minutes before they stop. So it can't just be... There has to be something, especially because we haven't seen the guy playing the bagpipes at all.
The piper,
yeah. So I feel like there's got to be something about that. So... Or not. Or maybe I'm just thinking too far into that. Which wouldn't be the first time.
Do you think Harry's still in danger from something?
Sarah! What's happened? Mr. Benson, get to the sick bay. Right.
No.
So the Zygon was the nurse.
I think so.
It just suddenly appeared.
Yeah, you didn't think that part through. It looks like there's genuine slime in between the fingers.
Recently we learned that our world had been destroyed in a stellar explosion. We could never return.
So now we must make this planet ours.
But why? I mean, why must you
All
take...
resistance will be crushed. We shall change the destiny of us.
Have you tried asking... Well... I was gonna say, have you tried asking for a place to stay, but humans and refugees don't go too well.
Skeleton is our life source. We Zygons depend on its lactic fluid for survival.
Ugh.
If that thing's destroyed, then you die too.
None of your puny human weapons can affect the skeleton. Our technology is supreme.
Our nuclear missiles.
I was about to say, you're gonna try that. Alright, that was silly. I feel like there's no denying that was really silly, whatever he just did.
You're still in touch.
Are you whispering?
Oh, what work, Doctor?
Oh, just a trick I picked up from a Tibetan monk.
Good job.
If there's anything I can do.
No, thank you, Mr. Huckle. This could be very valuable. You've done enough, thank you.
Okay. Watch yourself, Doctor, eh? You too, Miss Smith.
Don't worry.
Maybe he's Canadian.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
When did you see him?
It's not important.
Hey, just a minute. Harry!
Yeah, they can transform into humans. That doesn't make them good spies. That was a good shot.
It's nice that it gives the actors a chance to play something other than their usual character.
Well, yeah. Oh. I thought he might melt away into a goo.
Well, I'd better get our machine guns set up.
Machine guns may not be enough, Brigadier.
Then what do you suggest?
There's only one course still open to us.
The
I'll
RAF?
droid off while you get a fix on its activating signal.
Oh,
We
that.
must find its base.
Nice camera work.
It'd be hilarious if this thing was actually, like, really tiny.
That makes it just about... yeah.
Call in the RAF.
Yeah.
About 6 or 7 miles from here. Loch Ness.
Oh,
Ah!
you're right.
Alright. That's part 2. Well, it doesn't look terrible.
Again, though, it would have. It seems to me they could have done again just bits and pieces of it. The more you show it in close up, or enough to see the whole thing, the less impressive it is. But again, it's cool that it's the Loch Ness monster.
Yeah, I mean it's essentially like the Drashigs too.
Yeah.
So
I was saying very much the same head structure.
Yeah. So yeah, and then the whole thing of the Zygons being able to transform into anyone. Again, I was thinking, oh man, that'd be crazy if, the Brigadier has been a Zygon this whole time, but he seems to be acting fine.
Yeah.
And Benson is too, so I don't think it's anyone we have to worry about.
The thing is, whoever is the spy, obviously the nurse is one of them.
Yeah.
Although they take the form of the humans, they don't seem to be able to take over their personalities.
Yeah.
Because Harry was very brusque and very rude, which he would never be towards Sarah.
Right.
The nurse, of course, nobody knew her. So it has to be somebody else. Again, they do have the bugs there, but I would say the Laird, the guy who gave him the ride into town, is probably one. I don't think the guy that Sarah was talking to, the guy with second sight, I don't think it was him, and I don't think it's the Canadian or the American, whoever that is.
Yeah.
So I don't think they've got anybody right there in the core. I think they're doing that with the electronics.
Yeah. So, yeah, because I don't remember. I don't remember if that's like a thing they get later, is being able to get the personalities down too. I mean, they've very rarely shown up in modern Doctor Who. I don't even know if they show up after this. But I think they might have, because I mean the 50th was a little while ago at this point, but I think it was one of the Zygons became what was it, Queen Elizabeth, I think. Yeah. I think they had the personality down by then, so maybe they evolved by then. But at this point, I think you're right, they don't really have that down yet. Yeah. So it should be a little easy to spot, but and again, now maybe if they've got, you know, electronic surveillance, they've got these cameras, maybe that ties into the bagpipes that can just cut out at a moment's notice. And I'm gonna keep bringing this up until it's explained or the episode ends, whichever comes first. So that's gotta be a clue. Bagpipes can't just stop like that.
Now, I've actually known somebody who was a bagpiper. It strikes me that if they finish abruptly and then, you know, their elbow keeps pushing on the bag, then it kind of, you know, drags out. But if they simply stop and don't push any further air out, they might be able to cut off like that.
Maybe, I'm not sure. Or it could just be that the landlord, he just listens to bagpipe music, but there's nothing shady about it. That's just what he listens to really loudly. Maybe he can't actually play the bagpipes, but he's been fooling people for 40 years that he can. So I don't know. That's what I would do if I had to be the town piper, I guess.
But I was in a production of a Robert Bolt script. This is the guy who wrote Man for All Seasons. His lesser-known work is one called Vivat Vivat Regina. It's the story between Queen Elizabeth I and Mary Queen of Scots, and there's a bagpiper in that who abruptly is forced to stop piping. And of course, in the script it says it lets out this mournful wail as it deflates. But again, it strikes me that if you simply stop blowing into it and not pressing on it, that it might be able to cut off. I don't know. Don't quote me.
Maybe. You know, it's weird bringing up Queen Elizabeth I and Mary Queen of Scots. We have Doctor Who, which that was the 50th anniversary, was the 10th Doctor accidentally marrying Queen Elizabeth I. And then if you go to the other side of that, Mary Queen of Scots, the anime JoJo's Bizarre Adventure actually details two of her knights who are brought back in the late 1800s as zombies to fight the protagonists.
Okay.
Yeah. They are brought back by a vampire who... I can't explain JoJo. We'll be here all day.
Was one of the knights Jamie Bothwell by any chance?
No. Okay. Not even... I think their names were Bluford and Tarukas. So no.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a strange episode, actually, because it's, without going way too far into talking about JoJo, but the whole thing is, in the 1800s, there's a rivalry between two brothers, and then one of them suddenly becomes a vampire, so the other one has to learn magic sunlight magic in order to defeat him. The vampire, though, happens to bring back these two knights that serve Mary Queen of Scots, and we get this whole backstory about them. It takes like 5 minutes, and it's the most random segue ever, so...
I played. The reason I ask is I played Jamie Bothwell. It's one of the first times, in fact, maybe one of the only times I've ever had to use a Scottish accent. And I've had to do an Irish before, and I've done several different versions of British. Done upper class British, done the Cockney when I did My Fair Lady. Again, I've always said I'd love to do the Liverpool, love to play Dogberry and Verges in Shakespeare. Can't remember if that's As You Like It or not, but the two of them always sounded like, to me, the type of person who'd be using that Liverpool accent all the time.
You missed. Well. And there it goes.
Jackson, check the window area, will you?
Sergeant Major, you're all wasting your time.
Yes, well, you never know, so if you don't mind, we'll
carry on looking. The Duke gave him that one.
We don't need any clever...
He is definitely upon the heath. Definitely to meet with Macbeth. Oh no, Bambi's a spy.
I mean, were the eyes always that terrifying?
Depth charges. But there's a subterranean channel leading from Loch Ness to the Devil's Punch Bowl, a small loch near the village. It's near the sea and would make a useful back door for the monster, wouldn't you say?
I've never heard such nonsense. Are you seriously suggesting that the creature commutes between here and the North Sea? It feels like.
Before I joined unit, I was highly skeptical about these things.
You're all utterly unhinged.
Well, that's beside the point.
Bigfoot.
Yeah. You got the Loch Ness Monster and Bigfoot.
But he didn't tell us what he was up to.
Obviously, he was bug hunting.
Oh, so he is
Sorry,
dead.
I'm not with you.
Chris?
Ah, Caver. Our young guest is delving into the mysteries of the past. Fetch her the steps, would you?
Very good, Chris.
If the Duke's not in, then definitely...
Caber.
Right down
Unusual
Caber.
name.
It's a nickname. He's a Highland Games champion. I
very
doubt that you'll be able to pronounce his real name. It's very Gaelic.
No, I don't suppose I could.
Now, if you'd excuse me.
Of course. Thank you for being so kind.
Not at all.
You could have moved it over a little.
No, you don't go into this scary place behind the bookshelf. Have you never seen a horror film?
Well, this is Sarah Jane. Of course she will.
Oh, handy flashlight. Or torch.
What do you mean, is it me? Is it really you? Of course it. What on earth's the matter with you, old girl?
Yep, it's him. Well, don't get back in the cell.
What about you two?
What do you mean? What about us?
It's nice to see you. Does this lead to the spaceship?
Oh, yes, but be careful.
Oh, come on, Doctor. There's no time to lose.
Make one move, and the Doctor dies.
Well, that didn't work.
Devil are there. We'll explode the first couple high. That'll bring them to the surface. Get on with it, Mr. Benton.
Depth charges.
They did say they were going to use that.
Sounds like the Brigadier.
Protect the nerve of light.
And another.
I love that this was his first idea. That's a pretty good effect.
Yeah.
Good mix of the model in the water in the background. So, okay, so they're all you got Forgill, Caber, and the nurse are all Zygons.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
The thing about Caber, he started to explain it there. It's tossing the Caber is a Highland game, and I'm not kidding. You literally pick up what appears to be a telephone pole. All right, it's not quite as tall, but these huge logs, and you pick it up to waist high, and then you kind of run forward, and then you throw it, and then however far it goes, whoever throws it the furthest wins the match, I guess. So sometime you need to go on YouTube and look up tossing the Caber.
You know, sometimes the games we humans create are really interesting and intricate. And sometimes they're throwing a log as far as you can. So.
But remember, this is from the people who brought us haggis.
Well, there you go. So. Alrighty.
Of course, the Minoans, the Greek culture, they had a game where you had a bull charging, and the man would run towards the bull, and just as the bull got to him, they would jump up, put their hands on the bull's head or horns, and then try to leap over the horns, either onto the bull's back or completely over it. It's like, trying to jump over a running car.
Yeah. All right, I take back what I said about the Scots throwing a log. Because at least there's not really chance of, bodily injury if you're just chucking a log, unless you throw out some muscles or something. But and again, to the credit of the Scottish, who invented curling? Because that's another, I don't even get that one. That one's just strange. So at least you can understand the principles of take log and throw. So,
but speaking of bulls too, while we're doing this is the weekend that they're doing the running of the bulls in Pamplona in Spain, which again, they release a bunch of bulls, and men in the town, and now from all over the world, literally try to outrun a herd of angry bulls between the marketplace, I think it's the marketplace, and the stadium.
When did they come up with that?
I'm assuming after consuming many, many bottles of wine.
Yeah, well, because I was thinking, there's a scene similar to this in The Lion King, and someone dies doing that. So, and it's slightly different in The Lion King. You've got a lion and the wildebeest, but still the same principles apply of large animals running people over. So,
yeah.
But I imagine that has to be like almost psychotically fun to watch. If you're in the crowd, you get a couple drinks, it has to be a riot. So,
well, as of last night, that would have been Sunday night, no one had been gored so far this running.
Well, thank goodness for that. Again, apologies to all Scottish for making fun of your log throwing. It's very, very tame by comparison to everything else.
Yeah, to the Spanish and the Greeks.
Well, yeah. Alrighty, part 4.
Let me tell you sometime about one of the things that the Native Americans used to do to prove their manhood. And for those of you who've never seen a movie called A Man Called Horse, watch that if you can.
I thought the plan was to conquer the world.
The plan has not changed.
But you can't rule the world in hiding. You've got to come out onto the balcony sometimes and wave a tentacle. You'll pardon the expression.
Nice work.
Yeah.
I shall recreate my own planet here on Earth.
Using forced labor.
That is my intention. Human labor and Zygon technology.
Uh-huh.
The task is challenging, but not impossible.
So it's a bit different from Man of Steel, where it's like, why not go to a different planet without people?
Trace the source, quick! We must stop that
quickly.
They can only take our form, not our grammar.
Humanity is at our feet.
I wonder if that guy actually played Broton in the suit too.
Yeah.
Right. We've got about 60 seconds before the whole ship blows up.
Let's get out of here.
Sweet.
I like that there's not really... It's not really a clever way of beating that. Just blow up the ship.
Well, come on. Let's get to London.
It's kind of a distance, isn't it?
A quick flight.
I guess. I would have thought when you take the guy out, he would have to revert back.
Yeah.
What's behind the conference hall?
Catering section and riveters.
You search there. Set them and I'll take the cellar.
I think I mentioned to you before, there's a 60s monster film called Gorgo, where a very Godzilla-like creature destroys London.
Shoot him!
monster must be allowed to destroy it.
Love to see him dive into the Thames.
You go home now he's eaten the device.
Home?
Loch Ness, Harry. The only home he knows.
Tell me, I imagine the whole business...
How does he have enough food to sustain himself?
No, the cabinet's accepted my report and the whole affair is now completely closed.
You mean it never happened?
Well, a 50-foot monster can't swim up the Thames and attack a large building without some people noticing.
No.
But you know what politicians are like.
I think I'll stick to Intercity this time, Doctor.
Sarah? No?
All right. Providing we do go straight back to London.
Oh, yes. Oh, we will. I promise.
What, are we losing Harry?
After one season, I wouldn't think so.
I don't know.
Did they have return tickets?
Yes, I imagine so.
You should have taken them and got your refund, man. I thought you were a Scotsman.
Alrighty. Well, that would be strange if that was the end of Harry. But I don't know. I think I read that there may only be one more episode with the Brigadier, and that might have actually been it for Benton. I don't know if he comes back, so we may be just leaving Earth for now and forever. So, but yeah, if Harry was only on for one season, that's pretty short.
Yeah.
So, but it's entirely possible. So, alrighty.
That, last reference there from the Duke. The story is that the Scotsmen are very skeptical. No, that's not the word. They're very tight with their money. They don't like spending it frivolously. That's why I said you should have gotten your money back.
Yeah. And that is the thing, that the Doctor can pilot the TARDIS to London. He just didn't. So, luckily, he apparently knew exactly to land it in Scotland, specifically. Although maybe that was in the Brigadier's message to him, so...
Yeah. I would imagine he could triangulate where the message came from. Although, as you saw, he didn't land it specifically where he needed to. It was quite some ways away.
Or he just chose the British Isles and the TARDIS took it from there. So it's entirely possible. I know that, like, I'm not sure. I don't think that's ever just been stated so far in classic Doctor Who, but I feel like that's just like a general assumption even at this point, is that the TARDIS will take you where you need to be. So, alrighty. Terror of the Zygons. Pretty solid start to the season. Yeah. So, and honestly, I will say they do kind of look better here than they did in modern Doctor Who. Like, there's a bit more, I don't know, they're darker, the lighting maybe works a bit better, I don't know.
Well, again, as we've seen like the last 2 or 3 seasons, we had the Draconians, and then we had Sontarans, and now the Zygons. They are, in my opinion, really, really coming into their own as far as the makeup.
Yeah. And I guess it's also just, they're making more actual species. Because sometimes you would get, like, you know, in the 3 Doctors, where it's like, Omega looks really good, but his, you know, strange pizza minions were strange, but they weren't intelligent life forms. They're doing a lot more of that now, where it's, you know, these are intelligent life forms, they're going to be acting, and so they put a lot more of the face in there. So yeah, they definitely look really good in this. Okay, so I will go ahead and say I was wrong about the bagpipes. He just stopped, apparently. And I was also, so I guess, okay, there was also nothing about Huckle. He just was. That's just his accent, apparently. But But there was Huckle, and then there was the landlord, and he was the one who died when he found the bug in the eye, right? I thought they said he was the landlord.
Oh, I thought the landlord was somebody separate from him.
I thought so too, but I'm not sure. So,
quite honestly, they may have just been using the bagpipe to establish that it was in Scotland.
It could be, yeah. Maybe it's one of those. If you're in England, it's like, how do we establish that this is in Scotland? And throw some bagpipes. That's what the Scots are about, Like, I feel like if you do, like, there's stuff like that in America too, where it's like, okay, well, how do we convey that this is in the South?
You got the guy from The Chase who's in his cowboy boots and his cowboy hat and his really bad accent.
Yeah, so that's a good way. It's like, well, he's from the South. How do we portray that? Cowboy. They're not all cowboys in the South. No. Cowboy. There's actually one episode, I think it's of the Sarah Jane Adventures, where there's these aliens that are trying to take over Earth, and they were also disguised as humans, but it was a different species, and they were reporting in from everywhere that, like, they had taken over, but when they called in to their people in Washington D.C., they put on the thickest Southern accent, and so I was watching this like, wait, they don't have that in D.C. That's not... D.C. is not in the South.
Theoretically speaking...
Well, not that South.
Yeah. I mean, it's between Maryland and Virginia, and Virginia is considered a southern state.
Yeah, I guess, but it just...
But yeah, they don't have a really heavy southern accent in Virginia.
Yeah.
You have to get down in... it starts in North Carolina, and by the time you get down to Georgia and Alabama, that's when it's really, really thick.
Yeah. There's a character on Prison Break with a very thick Alabama accent, so it's always fun to mimic that voice. So
I lived in Montgomery, Alabama for 4 years. That's Forrest Gump. I mean, he's from just outside of Mobile, Alabama.
Yeah, so
Bayou La Batterie, or what was it? Greenbow. The Greenbow, yeah.
Yeah, so I would imagine maybe it is that, and maybe that's also the reason. I guess the Doctor had to have known where he was going, because he dressed up specifically for it too. So maybe that was it. Between the bagpipes and the way the Doctor was dressed at the beginning, it's like we have to overemphasize that this is Scotland. So yeah, let's see. Okay, so they never explain this, and this is something I feel should have actually been explained, and give up the bagpipes, whatever. But the spell, the hypnosis that the Doctor did so that Sarah would be able to breathe.
Now, that is, and again, I don't know if that's Zen practice or not, but there are certain things that you can do, and it looked like he was hypnotizing her. It's not really a spell, but it's a way of practicing where you can literally get down to only like 2 or 3 breaths every minute, so that if you're in a chamber like that where they are decompressing you from being so far down under the water, it would help you not to get bubbles of air in your blood, which is they call the bends, and it's a very big problem for people who come up too quickly from the deep. So, but yeah, he was simply telling her, basically hypnotizing her, so that she would follow that practice and not consume too much of the air, and that way they would both survive it. However, opening that door rather quickly, and I don't know how much Benton did with the knobs and everything, but opening that door very quickly would have also caused a huge problem.
Yeah. Well, I think he started letting a bit more air into it, and then he opened it, but still.
Yeah.
All right. Because that was very strange that he just put her under this hypnosis and was like, and now we can breathe where there is no air. And then Benton saves them. Yeah. So, all right. I'll let that one go. Let's see. Well, we've got the Zygons being able to transform into anyone so long as they have the body print. Which, honestly, it's interesting that they don't take full advantage of that. Like, they don't have, like, oh, anyone could be a Zygon or anything. It's like, it was really just Harry, and that was about it. And, I mean, I guess you kind of have that with Forgill and Kaber and the nurse, but other than that, they really don't do too much with that. And you would almost think they would do more with that, if only to save time and money of making the Zygon suits. Like, yeah, you can make them, but for the most part, well, we'll just have them be the humans, save some money, you know? That sounds like a cost-effective thing classic Doctor Who would do, and they didn't, and I'm proud of them for not doing that. So yeah, that was interesting. We had the Loch Ness Monster, the Scaracen, which was interesting. It's kind of hit and miss. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's not terrible, and we've seen better examples. We've seen better examples being the Drashigs, and we've seen worst examples being the T-Rex in Invasion of the Dinosaurs. Yeah. So sitting somewhere comfortably in between those is pretty all right.
Yeah.
So, and it wasn't really on screen too long.
No.
So it works out.
And again, a little bit more of the Hitchcock technique of only showing little bits and pieces of it might have been more effective, but I wasn't distracted by it.
Yeah. Well, and even still, there wasn't like a shot of, it just sort of lumbering around the streets of London or anything like that. Like, it really was just sort of the head, and then maybe you see a claw, and that's about it. So that worked out, at least. Let's see.
I thought at one point when it was chasing the Doctor through the heath, there was a longer view of it. It almost looked, briefly, and again I may have hallucinated this, looked like it had kind of a tortoise shell back. Because it showed just like a second of beyond the neck as it was walking forward, so I couldn't really tell.
Yeah. I remember I was watching a video talking about, I guess they're called cryptids, these sort of mythological monsters and stuff, and it's like, oh, well, if one of them did exist, which one would you want? And they said, well, I'd like the Loch Ness Monster to be real, because he seems to be pretty chill. Like, he just sort of pops up every so often to get a picture, and then that's it. He just kind of minds his own business. It's not like he's hurting anybody. So, and yeah, I mean, you can honestly say the same thing probably, which I guess that's sort of the point at the end, that he's just going to go back to Loch Ness and just chill out. So
they've always said, the biggest problem with a monster in the Loch Ness is how does he feed? But they were saying that there's this underground channel from the lock down to the sea where he could feed out in the North Sea and then go back home.
Yeah, that's true. So, and that's a good way of also getting it out of the Loch Ness and starting to destroy the oil rigs and eventually heading down to London. And, the oil rigs, which I get, that's the catalyst of the episode, is something's happening to these oil rigs, and so we got to get the Doctor in here to figure things out. But they never really went back to that again. Like, it was just sort of, well, that was the first part of our plan, destroy the oil rigs, and now we're gonna destroy everything else with our giant lizard thing. And it's like, well, all right. It wasn't, honestly, it was kind of always a flawed plan by the Zygons. Like, they kept boasting about the Loch Ness, but it doesn't really, I don't know, I feel like there could be a way of destroying it for humans. Yeah. And even Harry brought up the nuclear missiles, so...
which they said wouldn't work. The Zygons said that would be like, pinpricks.
I guess, yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm also trying to think of, like, Godzilla, like, do nukes... Well, I mean, Godzilla, it depends on which Godzilla, I suppose, but, Godzilla is supposed to be born of the nukes, and, yeah, I don't know, I'm trying to think of, like, modern... I guess King of the Monsters, Godzilla. It's like, was there anything about that? No, they used a nuke to like recharge him or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. So I almost wonder if part of this is sort of Godzilla inspired, where they were like, well, you see some of it. It started in the 50s, going on through 60s and 70s, I think, is when Godzilla got a little goofier. Maybe Doctor Who is looking like, well, we could kind of do something like that. Yeah. They don't do a full, having it destroy London, but it's, I don't know. Maybe they thought about it.
Again, their whole ultimate plan was to terraform the Earth to make it hospitable to their species. But again, the specific destroying of the oil rigs doesn't really, in my opinion, seem to fit into that plan. But again, it literally gets everybody's attention that says, hey, we're coming to get you and there's nothing you can do to us.
Yeah, it seemed to just be the first thing they attacked. Like, there wasn't any specific reason. It was just the first thing in the way of the monster. So, and I will say, you know, with everything of like, oh, we're going to take over your planet and make it our own, it's like you hear these 1,000 times, and it's like, okay, there's got to be some uninhabited planet that you could go hang out at, you know? Because I was also thinking, you know, there's the whole thing of like, well, could you not coexist with the humans? And then I thought, well, I don't know. There's a lot of people, you know, not saying everyone is like this, but there's a lot of people that don't really care for refugees. So maybe even if, you know, these red gooey refugees, they wouldn't like them either. So I'm sure there would be some problems with that, even if there are some people that would take them in. But I at least like the difference between this and something like Man of Steel, where in Man of Steel it's like, well, we have these devices, we're going to terraform your planet and make a new Krypton. Okay, A, you don't need a new Krypton. You're significantly more powerful on Earth than on Krypton. B, can you not use Mars or something? I mean, like, yes, there's, like, the Martian Manhunter and stuff, but, you know, find a place that, you know, is uninhabited, and you just go and you terraform that. You have these devices. At least with the Zygons, the reason they're doing it here with the humans is because they need the humans for labor.
Yeah.
Which, you know, it's terrible, but that is at least a reason to do that. They can't just go to an uninhabited planet because there's no one to help them.
Yeah. And this just happened to be where they crashed several hundred years ago.
Right. Yeah, so that one's really interesting. And at least, yeah, that's reason for them to do this. So yeah, let's see. And then, yeah, we got our 3 Zygons, Forgil, Caber, and the nurse. And it's interesting they talk about, his real name in Gaelic would be too hard to pronounce for most people. That just reminds me, and this is different because this is Welsh instead of Gaelic, I guess, but the really long town name, have you seen that?
Yeah.
It's so ridiculous, but I've seen... like a couple people who are Welsh who are like, yes, it is a ridiculous name, but I have learned how to say it so I can impress you.
Yeah.
And it does seem like it's something where it's like, oh, I do want to learn that because that is impressive, this, you know, ridiculously long name. But at the same time, as soon as you see the word, just the first couple letters, and then you start to hear it, it's like, yeah, I would not have guessed that that's what it was. So,
yeah. But again, I looked that up when I was living in England, and it's just, you know, it's a compound phrase. It's like, you know, the Church of St. Tysilio in the White Grove next to the lake, and it's like 5 or 6 different location descriptions, all just jammed into one single word.
Yeah, which, I mean, I don't know, I guess a lot of towns are like that too, you know, where it's just like, you know, what is this town? It's like, oh, it's literally just called this town, you know, it's James's town. What do you call it? Jamestown. It's like, well, okay, I guess I guess that's simple enough. People will remember that, but, you know.
And what shall we call this new land? We'll call it Virginia. Why would we do that? Well, you know, we were sent here not under the auspices of the queen who had passed away, but as they reached the Jamestown settlement and they saw this land which was literally untouched by humans, so they thought they did know the Powhatans were there, but basically said, you know, this land is untouched by man, therefore we will name it after our queen, who was also untouched by man. She was the Virgin Queen. The land will be called Virginia.
That is the Virgin Queen. Which one is that?
That's Elizabeth I.
That's Elizabeth I, right. She was the Virgin Queen until the 10th Doctor showed up. And
Let's not go there.
That is the plot of the 50th anniversary. So, so yeah, you're right, and it's also the same whenever there's a new something. It's like that's almost like I don't know, that might be lazier than just like this town or something. It's like, yes, we have York. What about this place? New York.
And before that, it was New Amsterdam, based because it was a Dutch colony who decided that they were going to name it after their city of Amsterdam back in the Netherlands.
Yeah, but it also makes you wonder if, like, in regular Jersey, do you think they also get crap about being Jersey, like the way New Jersey gets crap about being New Jersey?
No, because Jersey is an island. Now, again, don't quote me on this. It's been so long since I knew this. But Jersey is south of England, somewhere if I recall correctly. But no, they do not have the reputation that New Jersey has.
Well, I was going to say, even if they're not like that, if they're just like, come on, that's our namesake and you're New Jersey. It's like if Florida was New Florida. All the old Florida people would be like, you're giving us a bad name, New Florida. So yeah, and at the very least, like New York, New Amsterdam, New Jersey, they're all at least a good distance away. Then you have like New Mexico. It's just right there.
Okay, but the people from Mexico are the ones who named that, because as their population around central Mexico, there in the valley, where Tenochtitlan, later Mexico City, was, they decided to start a new colony to try to spread the people out. And that's when the viceroy said, we will start a colony in the north, which we will call Nuevo Mexico, or New Mexico, and that was started in the late 1500s, if I recall correctly.
All right. Let's see. Well, the only other things I really have are the self-destruct of the ship, which I like that there's not really... Again, there's not too many clever ways around this. It's just, no, he just blew up the ship. And he killed 2 of the Zygons on board, so... but he did get everybody out of there, at least. And then a quick trip back to London to stop Broton and the monster as well. And again, it was interesting, he throws the device and it's chewing on it, and it just seems to be like, we saved the day. People are still screaming in the background, though, and it's like, well, give him a minute, he'll wander off back to Loch Ness, but, in the meantime, people are terrified, so...
Call the men in black, get out the neuralizer.
Yeah. Which, of course, is just one of those things of like, well, people will cover it up, and it's like, yeah, but people saw it. Who are they going to tell? I think that was on like Legends of Tomorrow, whereas like there was some sort of alien thing in a town in the Old West, and they were like, well, we don't need to erase their memories, because who's going to believe this, small little town in the Old West? Like, oh, these aliens came. Yeah, right. Sure they did. Yeah. So, and luckily this is 1975 and not, in the modern day where everybody has, a little device to start sending pictures to the entire planet. So, despite that, though, they still pull that excuse in modern Doctor Who of just, nobody will believe them. It's like, but there are pictures, there's documents. It's faked. It's fine. So,
still people who think the Earth is flat, and we fake the moon landing.
Yeah.
Well, I saw that I guess it's a joke or a meme lately, that it's very obvious that the world cannot be flat, because if it were flat, cats would have knocked everything off of it.
Yeah, that's true. You know what I love too? I love when people say, well, the Earth is flat. And it's like, well, okay, what about the moon? No, that's a sphere. It's like, well, what constitutes the moon being a sphere? Like, you might as well say that's flat. That's just a thin piece of American cheese, Like, I don't know. I don't know what the difference is, so.
Anyway.
I also just love how elaborate it gets, where it's like, what about gravity? We're being pushed upwards by giant turtles. Duh. And it's like, yeah, of course. I'm sorry. Screw me. Apparently, I didn't realize this. Anyway, we're off topic.
As usual.
Yeah. So, but it's what you come to these videos for. I hope. If it's not, then boy, we're in a heap of trouble. You got anything else?
I got nothing.
Well, still good story.
Yes.
Us meandering aside, good story, and honestly, every story so far with Tom Baker has been a winner. So, curious to see what do we have next. Next up is Planet of Evil.
Oh boy.
That's completely non-specific. So we'll have to figure out what that is next time. But that is basically it. With all that being said, we're Alex and Dad from 7th Hour Films, and we will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. There's a bunch of links on screen if you want to go click around to any of those. There's a playlist for all of our Doctor Who classic reactions, as well as another playlist for all of my modern Doctor Who reactions if you want to go watch that. There's also a subscribe button and a Patreon button on screen, as well as other links in the description if you want to go check out any of those. See you guys later.